Next question in my sheet says, find the employees who work in Coloma and Polonia. Now, think about what I just said there. Find the employees who work in Coloma and Polonia. In English, we often say it that way, but that's not really right. What do I mean? I want a list of Coloma and Polonia combined, right? When I say Coloma and Polonia. That's what many people will say, but that's not really what they meant. I want people who work in one or the other, so that's a very common mistake. Let's write that one. Select everything from TBL employees where the plant ID equals 1 or the plant ID equals 2. So sometimes you have to ask the people who are talking to you, so I don't have anybody who works in 2 plants. How can they work in 2 plants at the same time? Because technically that's what and means, right? We have to meet both these criteria. They will often say it that way. This is really what they mean. And my notes say 25 rows. Yep. So you see the plant IDs are 1s and 2s. There is another operator that we can use called the in operator. The in operator is used to prevent you or to provide a convenient way of saying this or this or this or this or this. What if we had 5 or 6 of them? We could easily say plant 1 or 2 or 10 or 11 or 15 or 17. We could do that. But what the in operator allows you to do is make a list in a set of parentheses. So here's an example. Give me a list of all the records where the color, whatever that means, is in red, white, or blue. So let's modify that query that we just wrote to use in instead. Okay, should give us the same answer. "25 rows. One thing I occasionally see, and you don't have to follow this one because it's wrong anyway. Give me the list of people who work in plant number 1 and use an in. In to me implies a list. Red, white, or blue, 1, 13, 7. If you only got 1, just use equals. It's easier. You don't need parentheses. There's less typing. Just say plant ID equals 1. If you only need 1, use equals. If you need more than 1, then use the in. The in should not be used for 1. Does it work? Yes. Am I being too picky? Probably, but every now and then I just got to be anal, and this is one way to do it. That doesn't make, in this list, and there's only one thing in the list. Doesn't make sense to me. Another very powerful operator is the like operator. Let's say I want a list because I'm going to do some reassignments. I want a list of employees whose last name starts with C. Why? Well, maybe I want to assign those people to a special project, or I want to assign those people to a new HR manager, and they're just going to take care of all the C's to start with, for whatever reason. Can you use a like operator? I don't know what their last name is, so instead of doing an equal sign, give me 2 minutes. Instead of doing an equal sign, we do the like command. And then in quotation marks, because like only works on strings and dates, we'll see in a second, we specify the pattern that we want to follow. The pattern, for our case, starts with C, so we'll put the C in there, capitalized or not, doesn't matter. And then we use wildcard characters. Any poker players in the room? What's a wildcard? Represents anything. In MySQL and many other languages, the wildcard character, like in Windows and DOS, is a star. The star represents anything. Any set of characters, any number of characters. So that star could be 20 characters. So this could match cat. It could match Catherine. It could match Catalonia. The star represents anything. And the one thing that people forget, it can also represent nothing. So if I've got somebody whose last name happens to be C, this will match. The star matches nothing as well. So whenever you're using the like, it's very powerful. You give it a pattern using wildcards. Let's do this one. And I got none. Last name like C. Oh, I was supposed to, oh. Sorry, didn't read that well. So I got no people. That's, well, that happens. Let's change this to trips, where the destination starts with C, like Chicago, Cleveland, Cincinnati. Should have read closer. Still got nothing. Really? Is there an error down here? No, I'm getting nothing. That's different. Let me pause this for a second. Here's the mistake I made before I turned the recording off for a second is I used star, because that's the DOS wildcard character. It's also the wildcard character used in Access. All this stuff works in Access. But MySQL uses a % as anything. So this represents any number of characters, any kinds of characters, including none. And so my guess is if I repeated my employee one here, it would probably work. Select star from TDL employees, where the last name is like C star or C %, almost did it again. And there are some. All good? Okay. The wildcard % can be put anywhere. All right. So here's one that says starts with Dave, D-A-V, so that would match David and Dave and Davidson and Daving or whatever else I can come up with here. Anything that starts with D-A-V, and it is not case sensitive. There's a capital D there. That does not matter. In this case, the %, the %'s at the beginning, so this says, I don't care what comes, anything at the beginning, ending with N. Gunderson, Anderson, Erickson. And if the last name is Son, S-O-N, it matches that too, because the wildcard can represent nothing. Another very common combination is % at the beginning and at the end. That means contains. This says, as long as it's got an S-O-N in it anywhere, at the beginning, at the end, in the middle, because this says anything at the beginning, then an S-O-N in that exact order, then anything after it. So it could be in the middle. Because these can represent nothing, it could have nothing at the beginning, S-O-N, and then anything at the end. Or it could have something at the beginning, S-O-N, and nothing more at the end. So that one's very common. So let's go, do I have one of those? Contains, it's pretty lame. Let's get a list of employees whose phone number contains a 333. I don't remember who it was, or maybe it's Tim's phone number. I don't remember his phone number. I don't remember his name, at least not his last name. But I remember because it was so obvious that his phone number had 3s in it, 3 of them. So now I'm going back to employees. And yeah, let's just keep going here. Select again. Nice to keep going from TDL employees, where the phone number, that's just phone, You can't put the word contains here. I always want to do that because many programming languages have it. But the phone number is like %333%. Notice here's one for Mr. Lumbre and the 333s at the beginning, and for Denise here the 333s in the middle. And I don't have an example where the phone number has a 333 at the end, but it would match if it was there. Easy, right? If I show you how, yeah. The question is, can you read English questions that say gimme and know which of these tools to use? But that's practice. That's what the labs are for. Assignments are for. Here's an example. Starts with A, ends with S. O-N. S ends with son. So Anderson, Alex, and whatever. There is a second wildcard character in DOS. The second wildcard character is a dot. No, question mark, excuse me. Question mark. That represents one and only one character. I have almost never used it. Occasionally it comes in handy, but I mean, in 20 some odd years, if I've used it 5 times, I'd be surprised. So here I have a like TM that should have quotes around it. The first time I've noticed that mistake. T_M. In DOS, it's a question mark. Here it's an underscore. So this is going to match Tim and Tom and Tam and T2M, but it is not going to match TM. The underscore always represents any one single character, but there must be a character there. Make sense? Probably won't need it. This one you won't need. Do I want to talk about it? Sometimes the pattern that you want to create, this is beyond the scope of this class. It's beyond the scope of my RDD class. It's mostly there for me. Remember, these notes are not for you. They're for me to remember this stuff. I just share them with you. This is an R-like. R stands for regular expression. It allows you to create, using special symbols, a pattern that you want to match. This pattern says it starts with an A or an F or a W. Square brackets in regular expressions represent a selection. And it has any number of those characters. All the rest of it. So it's just special symbols that represent complex patterns. You ever wonder how when you go to a website, you type in your email address, you forget the @ sign, they know? That's not a legal email address, because an email address starts with a bunch of characters, probably has a dot in it. And then it has an @ sign and a bunch of other characters. And if you don't match their pattern, they yell at you and say, that can't be real. I'm not even going to look. How do they know? They use regular expressions. Very powerful, but almost a programming language itself. It's got its own syntax. So you've been introduced to it. Let's call it good. I'm not going to do that one. All trips where the donation. Okay, here's another thing we got to learn how to do. Is null. Null means missing, right? I think we talked about it. Some of you, for your street 2s, put in some nulls. Perfectly acceptable. I don't have a second line in my street address. No. But what if I want to search for that? For instance, what if I want to search for all the trips where the duration is null? Why would the duration be null? We're not back yet. And it's an open-ended trip. I'm going until this darn thing works, whatever it is we're testing. I'm not coming back. The trip is in my database. That you left is on my database. But how many days you were gone is still missing. Or maybe there's expenses that are null. So let's try this trips null here. So that's the trips table. Where the duration is null. Are there any? Yes. Good. Wasn't sure if I had any in there yet. So maybe, and this could just be a planned trip, right? This database is way back in 5 years ago or so. But this could be a planned trip, and it's in the database. Tyler's planning on going on a trip next week to Chicago. He's not gone yet, but we're planning on it. It's in the database. How can I find the trips that haven't left yet? I could do a trip date greater than today, or in this case, I can do it not null. But watch what happens when you put an equal sign in it. I don't get a syntax error, but it doesn't work. Null is kind of like a black hole. It sucks up everything. So when you say compare the duration, which is something, to a black hole, no. So you can't use equal, and the notes also say, I'm looking at them up here on the other screen, that I can't use, what's the other one that doesn't work that some people try? Equal to the empty string. You can guess that's not going to match, right? We know there's trips that are null. The notes say it. You got to remember it. Equals null does not work. It's your first instinct. It's syntactically correct. It just doesn't work. So you have to remember when you're doing those to check for is or is not null. And we saw the is null and that it works. I want a list of cities that I've traveled to. Boss comes in and said, where in 2000, all these trips are in February, I think, of 2012 or 10 or something like that. In February of 2010, where did we go? Where did we send people? Well, that's the trips table. So I'm going to say, give me a list of just the destinations, because I just want a list of where we went from TBL trips. Destination. And there's my list. But notice Chicago, Philadelphia, Miami, they're showing up multiple times. The boss is going to imagine we've got hundreds of employees and this list is now thousands of rows long. I don't want I just want distinct ones. Well, actually, there is the keyword distinct. Gotta spell it right. Distinct destinations. It removes any duplicates. And now, looking ahead a little bit, let's move down to the next line and put it in order by. This is how you sort. I want to order by destination. Now I get the same list, but they're alphabetical, and I can see there's no overlap. I don't know if I skipped order by or if it's still coming. Usually I talk about that a little earlier. Oh, there it comes. Okay. So distinct comes in handy. Typically it's used on one field like this. So if I wanted to, you don't have to follow. I'm just going to do this example here real quick. If I wanted to list all the plant IDs that are in the employee table, I could say select the plant IDs. We already want this to be distinct. We already know there's 4, but there they are. And if I hadn't had the distinct, I'd have 50 employees, right? I have 50 1s, 4s, 22s, and 3s. If I just want a unique list of those, distinct is the keyword that makes that happen. You can apply it to multiple fields. I want a list of each employee and what cities they went to, but again, the same thing could happen. Tyler might travel to Chicago twice. So let's just do a quick list of that. Let's do a select of the employee ID. And again, in the next unit, we'll talk about how we can turn this into employee names that are a little more useful. The employee ID and the destination from TBL trips. And let's add an order by while we're at it. Order by the employee ID and then the destination. So here, employee number 1010101 has gone to Miami a couple of times. Miami a couple of times. Philadelphia, Cleveland a couple. I don't want those duplicates in there. Again, I want those removed. You can add a distinct to this. But now, because there's two fields there, it will give you the distinct combinations of those two fields. All right, so we're not going to have one employee number 11111. We're going to have one employee 11111 in Philadelphia. Here's 11111 Philadelphia, 111 Miami. So all of those duplicates have been removed. So when you add the word distinct to your field list, it applies to all the fields. This is not just distinct employee ID. There's no way to do that. It's a distinct combination of every field that you list there. Every field. So if you had 3, 4 fields there, it looks at them all and says, is this row the same as that row? If they are, take the extra one out. Questions? So that occasionally comes in handy if you're getting duplicates. And let's talk sorting and then we'll call it a day. We've already seen the order by clause. You can order by multiple fields. We just did that, right? If there's a tie in the employee ID, the employee IDs are all the same over here, then order them by destination. So within the 10101s here, we got Dallas, Miami, Philadelphia, San Francisco. So you can order by multiple fields. You can order by dates. You can order by numbers. Doesn't matter. And you can mix and match. Another thing you can do, let's do a list of all the trips. Order by. So you can sort in reverse order. By default, any sorting you do is done A to Z, 0 to 10, January 1st to December 31st. If you wish, you can reverse the sort order. So if I wanted to list all my trips by the trip date, but I want the most recent trips first, this is very common, right? I'm looking at orders that have been placed in my company in the last 10 years. I want to see the most recent ones first, instead of having to scroll through 100,000 records to see them. If you want to reverse the sort order, you add a DESC, that's an abbreviation for descending. There is also an ASC, but you never use it because that's the default. The only reason it's there is occasionally computer programs need to choose. The GUIs need to choose, and so sometimes they insert that. But we humans don't need to say ascending because it happens automatically. Semicolon, and now my trip dates are all, I don't know, I can't tell here, backwards. Looks like it. As I mentioned, we can sort by numbers, so let's do expenses. Descending. Big ones at the top, then the little ones. And again, you can mix and match. So I could say, give me the destination, that's ascending. So I'm going to have all the Chicagos and Clevelands and Amhersts first. But then within wherever there's a tie, list them to me, the trips, list them to me in order of most expensive first. So here's my trips to Atlanta, most expensive trips down to the last least expensive trip in Atlanta. I love this one. 6 days, $57. Let's have some friends down there buying you drinks and food and giving you a room or something. I don't know how you spend 6 days in Atlanta and spend random numbers. Okay, my program was randomly generating numbers. If I'd been smart, I would have multiplied my 6 times some random number to make sure it's at least X number of dollars a day. But if you stayed with mom and dad, then there's no cost. Except my dad, he'd charge me. But anyways, notice the nulls come last. They're treated basically like zeros. If there were zeros here, they would show up first and then the nulls. The nulls are actually less than 0. They're nothing. You can sort by as many fields as you need to. 2 or 3 is not uncommon. And you can mix and match descendings and ascendings in any combination that you need. One last thing, and then we'll call it a day. What if I only want the trips whose duration was greater than 5? That's a where clause, right? Because we use the select clause to get fields, we use the where clause to filter, and then the order by, and you can mix and match. However, they must be in order. The where clause always comes first. At the end of my notes, there's a section that talks about the order of the clauses that they have to come into. We have yet to learn about group by and having, and we will. When we learn about group by and having, they come after these, I think. I forget. I think order by is last. Well, quit thinking, go find out. They're in here someplace. Formatting, we still got a few things to talk about. There they are. Select from where, group by, roll up, having, order by. They have to appear in that order. So if I want a list of trips where the duration is, let's say, greater than 5, that clause has to come first. You get very used to the where clause coming before the order by clause. What do you want to filter by, and then how do you want them sorted? And this is what most queries honestly look like. Select a bunch of fields. Here's my criteria, where clause, and it could be and then order them by 3 different fields, 2 of them descending. Sure. And now my list is smaller. Notice that everybody is greater than 5. Remember, there's 300 trips in the database. I've filtered it down to 123 by saying destination, or the duration, excuse me, is greater than 5. So that's another critical part. So this is select. Then there's a where clause if you need it. Then there's an order by clause if you need it. When you do the homework assignment, again, I strongly encourage you to get a head start. Do you have to? No. It's going to be a nice weekend. But there are probably got 4 more nice weekends coming. And you got to stay focused best you can. Make time for school in there somewhere. If it's raining, get to work. Got it. Okay. You can't golf anyways. Might as well, I guess you can in the rain, right? If it's thunder and lightning out, get to work on your computer so you fry all your electronics. Better than going golfing. Okay. I'm going to go back to the notes here real quick. Maybe. I flew through these. If you're getting a head start, or I should say, let's be positive here. When you're getting a head start on your notes or on your assignments, if you need to do a calculated field, either read my notes and figure it out or skip it. There are plenty of queries that you're going to write that you can write without doing calculated fields. And before I forget, I think I mentioned this to you last time. Let me just repeat it. I would like you to number these. So you use your comments here and you can do a pound, this is number 12. Or you can do a /*. I think I showed you /*. Either one of those works, but please number these so I know which one you're working on. Okay. And if you find one that says do include this calculated field, then you go, that's number 12, we'll leave that one blank. Or you do as much as you can. Give me this, this, and this, and a calculated field sorted by date. Oh, I can do all but the calculated field. Put that in there, and then adjust. You got to remember to adjust it later, though. That's the risk. So back to the notes one more time. Calculated fields you don't know how to do yet. There's all kinds of calculated fields. Formatting you don't know how to do yet. So if I ask you to format, I think that doesn't happen until near the end. Functions later. So minimums, maximums, averages. We still got a lot to learn here. Grouping. Subqueries. Ugh. If you see those in the assignment, skip them for now. Then next week you'll be able to finish them up relatively quickly. Quick look at the assignment. Where's my SQL assignments? Right there. Here's the master files. You're going to be doing, in the book that we use, there are 3 databases: Alexamar, Marina, Henry Books, and Premier Products. The challenge for you all is getting comfortable with the databases. What tables do they have? Maybe you want to draw something like this, who's tied to who. It's not critical at this stage, but in the next unit it will be. You're not real comfortable for those, so what I would do before you do much else is do a select star from a couple of tables to see what's inside there. But here's the master files. Download those just like you downloaded the employee's SQL file today. Put them in, open them up in a window. You got to do it 3 times. There's 3 of them. Put it in the window, run it. Get the next one, put it in the window, run it. Next one, run it. And you'll have 3 new databases. And then you just got to make sure you're using the right one. Well, let's take a quick look. So the first one starts with Premier Products. Remember, you double-click the database to select it, and then list the part ID, description, and price for all parts. Big deal. Should be able to do that one. List all the rows and columns for the whole orders table. Credit limit, 7,500 or less. You're going to have to do a little translation, right? Customer number 3 on that date. Customer number 2 or number 3. Item class SG. Between 10 and 25. I'm at number 8. I think you can do, oh, there's a calculated field. I'm doing units times unit price. I would at that point go, nope, not doing that. In, I know how to do that. Find the ID, begins with K. Yep, know how to do that. Sort, yep. List all the details, sort by, yep. How many no, I don't know how to do how many customers. I don't want you to write the answer down here. What we're going to learn how to do is write a query that does the counting for us. There's a count function. There's a sum function, just like there is in Excel and Access. So when you see these totals and counts, skip those. Find the total. Nope. List the part on hand value. That's calculated. Can't do it. What's the price of the most expensive? That's max. Can't do it. Most expensive. List the sum of the... Okay, so somewhere around here you're getting to... We haven't talked about it yet. But you can get half of that done. And then you're not done yet, because then there's Henry Books, and there's simple ones for Henry Books. That's why I want you to start now. Then there's simple ones for Henry Books. Do the simple ones, or the ones you think you can figure out. And then there's Alexamar, Marina. Good news is there's only 4. So that's an overview. You can start this and get some of these out of the way, and if you have questions, bring them with you next week. Your assignment is simply to start. Don't be sending me emails about how do I do a max subquery, because I haven't lectured on it yet. Wait till I lecture on it. Just skip it for now, or fight with it if you wish. None for today.